Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are starting in 1 minute. We will start today's event in 1 minute. Please head to your seats at this time. Thank you.
And I saw my reflection, there's no recovery. Last time, in the sky, what is it? And a child within my heart. Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I have dark seasons of my life? Well, I'm afraid of changing, 'cause I feel my life around you. But time is older, even children get older, I'm getting older too.
Please join me in welcoming Hollis Wong Ware.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Alliance for Gun Responsibility's 10th annual luncheon, Building a Safer Future. It is so wonderful to be together in person for the first time in 3 years. And let's make some noise for that. And we're also so thrilled to have many joining us virtually as well. We are gathered today on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people past and present. We extend our gratitude to the land and to the Duwamish tribe. If you're tuning in virtually from outside Seattle, we invite you to follow the link in the chat to learn more about the ancestral lands we are on. I invite everyone to find out how to provide sustained support to the Duwamish tribe at realrentduwamish.org. My name is Hollis Wong Ware. I am a songwriter, creator, and community advocate, and I proudly represent Seattle. I am honored to be present today to both celebrate the tremendous wins that the Alliance and its community has accomplished over the last 10 years, and also to underscore how vitally critical our collective support is today. The last 2+ years have been truly perilous for our city, our region, and our community with regard to gun violence, and I have also been so moved and awed by how we have rallied together as a community to shift culture forward, from mutual aid to creative expression to systemic change. I know without a doubt that together we can build a safer future, and we have an opportunity to renew our promise, our inspiration, and our commitment to that safer future today. Today, we are celebrating the remarkable progress that the Alliance for Gun Responsibility has made in the years since its very first luncheon in 2013. You'll hear, yes. You'll hear much more about those victories later in the program, and I know that many of you here today were part of those victories yourselves. There is so much to be proud of. I've personally had the privilege of being a part of the luncheon both this year and last year as one of the producers of the profile videos, along with my colleague Shasti Conrad. I've had the privilege of meeting and hearing the stories of survivors, impacted families, and tireless elected officials whose dedication to this work has made such tremendous impact. The last 2 years have, if anything, reinforced the power and necessity of community. The pandemic made it impossible to ignore how interconnected and interdependent we all are. And as we have continued to confront the global COVID pandemic, our uniquely American epidemic has persisted. 2020 set a record for gun violence, and then 2021 broke it. Last year, more than 45,000 people were killed by a gun in the United States, an average of 123 people every day. 123 parents, siblings, children, friends, mentors, 123 community leaders, athletes, artists, and individuals who made our lives brighter. 123 lives cut short by a bullet. Only a tiny fraction of these deaths came from the public mass shootings that have come to define the American gun violence epidemic in our imagination. Only a fraction of these deaths even were heard of all in headlines. These lives were stolen by gun violence in the form of suicide, domestic violence, unintentional shootings, police violence, or interpersonal violence. Our state, Washington, has not been immune to this disease of violence. Seattle saw more gun violence in 2021 than in any year in at least a decade. More people killed by guns, more people hurt by guns, more shots fired. 79% of homicides in the city last year were committed with a gun, and more than 81% of shooting victims were people of color. This violence has fallen hardest on Black and Brown communities. And these numbers and the lived experiences of those impacted underscore that it is impossible to end the gun violence epidemic without rooting out white supremacy. It is, yes. Rooting out white supremacy is the only way to build the safer future that we all deserve. Today, you'll hear more about the Alliance's evolving work to partner with Black-led organizations and center the people most impacted by gun violence in the pursuit of true community safety for all. We will hear much more about the urgency of gun violence, its epidemic, and the great challenges ahead, from this fall's election to the federal courts to our energized opposition. Towards the end of the program, we will have a live paddle raise where you can pledge your support for the important work ahead. Those of you joining us virtually are invited to give at any time via the link in our chat. And now I would like to welcome Alliance for Gun Responsibility's founder, Nick Hanauer, to the stage.
Good morning. Or is it morning? It's morning to me. Thank you, Hollis. And thank you all for coming to this event. This is a smaller event in person than we've had before, 400 people about, but it is the biggest event I have been at since the last one of these. Has anybody here been to a bigger event lately? Oh no, this seems like a reintroduction to events, and we have another 400 people online. My name is Nick Hanauer, and I am the co-founder of the Alliance for Gun Responsibility. And I just wanted to reflect a little about what brought me to this movement. As many of you know, it was the Sandy Hook tragedy that motivated me and my friend Eric Liu into action on that terrible day so many years ago. And I remember vividly, I was at a conference at Duke University when the first tweets and emails started to come through, and we began to realize what had happened in Sandy Hook. And I will never forget that moment when I realized that that elementary school could have been the elementary school that my children attended, because at that time I had kids in elementary school. It was a traumatic moment, but it definitely motivated us to action. I also wanted to reflect on the fact that it was just how mad I was that we could not get something done easily. How mad I was at my friends in the legislature, how mad I was at the gun, at the NRA and the gun lobby for not compromising and passing background checks. But the truth is, they did us a huge favor, because it was that intransigence and the difficulty of doing hard things in the legislature that forced us to create an organization and build a movement. If it was not for that intransigence, we would not be here, and we would not have made the progress that we have made. I also want to reflect a little bit on one of the lessons that taught us. And it is often the case that people who seem powerful, entrenched interests, like the National Rifle Association, are less powerful, in fact, than they seem, because their power is most often derived from the fact that they are not opposed, they are unopposed. And it was by rallying you, by getting so many people involved, that we made that more and more obvious. I'm often reminded of The Wizard of Oz, one of my favorite old movies. And Oz seemed powerful until you realize it was just a short, pudgy guy behind a curtain. And in fact, that is, to a certain degree, what the gun lobby was in Washington state. And it was our collective efforts that revealed that and made them less and less relevant. It takes a lot to start an organization, much less a movement, and I do want, at the risk of excluding some, to call out some folks. My friend Eric Liu, who stood up with me, the people who attended that first traumatic all-hands meeting that we were just reflecting on. My partner, Zach Silk, who continues with me today and now runs Civic Ventures. A special shout out to the faith community who rose up to support this movement in an extraordinarily unambiguous way, and of course, the moms and the grandmas. Thank you. Thank you. I suppose I would not have thought that 10 years later we would still been going strong, but here we are, and we have accomplished so much. And I can tell you, or at least is my view, that having spent effectively a lifetime in politics and civic action, that there are few examples of the kind of success that this organization and this movement have created in the state of Washington. And we should be incredibly proud. We couldn't have done it without the support of so many people, legislatively, financially, politically, and otherwise. So again, thank you for being here. And thank you for being part of this decade-long fight and hopefully staying with us for the next decade. So again, thanks.
When the Sandy Hook shooting happened, I remember vividly, as the father of a 5-year-old, just being horrified at the idea that parents sent their little kindergartners off to school and they never came home.
I was in Las Vegas attending a 3-day music festival, and on the last night, a gunman began firing down into the crowd, and we found ourselves in the middle of what would become our country's deadliest mass shooting.
In the shooting of 2016 in Mukilteo, my son was seriously injured. 3 of his friends were killed. I couldn't just sit back and let other people address the issue.
In 2012, I thought, wow, I wish we could do something, but I'm not sure that we can do anything. The National Rifle Association was so powerful that there was no possibility. We worked hard with what then became the Alliance to run a bill that would require universal background checks. There was huge attention to whether we would be able to get this bill out of the House, because nothing like this had been tried in living memory in the legislature, and ultimately did not have enough votes to bring the bill to the floor. We took what we learned from drafting that bill, and that helped to do the initial building of the Alliance, which came back then the following year, and the passage of Initiative 594, an initiative that would require background checks before any purchase of a firearm.
Everyone who's involved with the Alliance has some sort of story to tell. Seeing the progress that we've made together, it keeps me going.
The next really big idea that bubbled up was the idea of extreme risk protection orders. What we found was that the Alliance were able to turn out hundreds of people to come to hearings to talk to their legislators. I think people got less and less patient with the idea that we were just going to send thoughts and prayers.
It's painful to witness the level of gun violence in our culture. I feel it when I read the news. I've been impacted by it directly, and I've witnessed the pain and suffering and deep grief of the parents when they lost their kids. No parent should have to go through that.
If I was going home and reuniting with my family and 58 others were not, I wanted to dedicate my life to attempting to try and make this world a better place.
There's often a narrative that we just want to come through and take everyone's guns away. That's not the case, but there are measures we can take that are proven to save lives, like the high-capacity magazines bill.
The seconds that it takes a shooter to stop and reload, that is when you have the opportunity to start running. It's these precious seconds that will be saving lives.
In the 2022 session, we were finally able to pass a ban on high-capacity magazines.
Watching Governor Inslee sign this bill into law, it was a very, very proud moment. Seeing this room filled with all of the people who've been working so hard for so many years to make this happen, and finally it's a reality. It is one of the best feelings you could ever ask for.
We could not have the ban on high-capacity magazines if it was not for the Alliance. And having that wonderful organization that knows what they're talking about, knows how to be an advocate, can bring together a grassroots coalition. Look, let's be honest, that's what moved the legislature. The people were way ahead of the politicians when it comes to common sense gun reform, and the Alliance really embodies that grassroots spirit.
You know, the gun violence prevention movement has predominantly been white-led for so long. It's essential that we continue to view our work through an equity lens, and I'm so excited that the Alliance is committed to that. You know, our statewide Black chapter team, that's the first of its kind. Seeing that the Alliance is really making those internal steps and also those steps in our communities throughout the state is just so promising.
I think that the story of the Alliance for Gun Responsibility is one of the best examples of how committed people can advocate for change, can change minds, and change hearts, and change laws. It's hard to think of anything that is more of a tonic in this time than knowing that we have the ability to make our community better.
Sometimes organizing can get tiring. You get people to show up and turn out and, you know, join the cause with you. It's like, wow, you know, this was all worth it.
We're at a pivot point in our society when it comes to gun violence, which makes our work even more urgent, and the importance of supporting the Alliance even more urgent today than it has been in recent years.
There's a lot of resistance, but step by step by step, incrementally, the Alliance is getting that work done.
Hello, everyone, and I hate to put some people on the spot, but if you are an elected official in the legislature, please join me up here. Speaker Jenkins, Representative Hansen, Representative Johnson. You're gonna have to get cozy, guys. Come on. Call people back. All right, we're going to have plenty of opportunities to stand up and clap again, so I'm going to invite you to sit down now. But welcome once again to the Alliance's 10th annual luncheon. Can you believe it? Because I cannot. It feels so good to be here with all of you, celebrating what we've accomplished, and man, we've accomplished a lot. As you can see, I've asked our GBP champions to join me on stage today. Each and every one of you, and I mean this, is an essential part of our success. I want to say a special thank you to Senate and House leadership, in particular, Speaker Jenkins, and Senator Billig, who could not be with us here today. Also, committee chairs, Senator Dingra and Representative Hansen. And our past chairs, Senator Peterson and retired Representative Kilda. I also want to thank two people who were really part of this movement from the beginning, who are not here today, Senator Frocht and retired Representative Kagi, who really helped usher so much of our work forward. Thank you for fighting along us for a safer future. Thank you for a historic session. Thank you for doing your jobs, responding to your communities with bold action this year. We all passed high capacity magazines. And the we is really important here. There are so many people to thank this year, but I want to try something a little bit different, so bear with me. And this is interactive, so be ready. First, if you're part of that first meeting that Nick talked about just a minute ago, please stand. Nick, Zach, Anne, Matt, so many. No, stay standing. Come on, bear with me. Next, if you're part of the faith community who organized marches and provided a bedrock for our movement, please stand. Can I have everyone who attended the luncheon 10 years ago, please stand? Come on. Can I have everyone who volunteered for 594, 1491, or 1639, please stand? Can I have everyone who has ever worked for the Alliance or been on our board of directors, please stand? Can I have everyone from our partner organizations, please stand? Brady, Choose 180, Moms Demand Action, FAN, Jewish Federation, Community Passageways, and of course, Grandmothers Against Gun Violence. If you aren't standing already, can I have anyone who has ever testified in Olympia, worked to pass legislation, voted for a common sense gun law, worked with us on implementing those laws, been courageous enough to share your personal story, or have ever donated to the Alliance, please stand. While the people standing behind me took the votes, the bold votes this year that were needed to pass high capacity magazines, all of you are the reason that it happened. You are the movement we have built together. You are building a safer future for our state. You are examples for our entire country. You are the Alliance. Please join me in a huge round of applause for all of our collective success and the thousands of other people who are hopefully standing at home who are part of that success as well. Thank you very much. All right, you all can sit. I am truly honored to work alongside all of you as we work together to build a safer future that our communities deserve. As most of you know, the work is personal for me, as I know it is for many of you too. I joined the Alliance team in 2015 and never would have predicted that we would be able to accomplish so much in such a short time. And yes, 9 years is a short time when we're talking about changing a culture. 3 ballot measures in 6 years, true gun responsibility majorities in Olympia, and more than 35 community safety bills passed through the state legislature, as well as millions of dollars put into the budget to support community-based programming. Just this year, high capacity magazines, thank you so much to Senator Elias and Representative Valdez. Armed intimidation, thanks so much to Representative Berg, Sen, and Senator Cooterer. And ghost guns, thanks so much to Representative Berry. Our legislative victories are tremendous, but they would not be possible and they would not be as meaningful without the rest of our work. Passing laws is just one piece of the puzzle, and I'm so proud about how the Alliance's work has grown and expanded over the last 9 years. Our continued work supporting candidates up and down the ballot have resulted in a true gun responsibility majority and delivered the incredible work of this year. Implementation work continues to expand and inform our work. Our protection order work was made even more important during the pandemic, and that partnership led to the passage of House Bills 1320 and 1901. Sweeping legislation, yes. Sweeping legislation that made permanent some pandemic-induced changes that will make it easier and more equitable for the most vulnerable Washingtonians to access that life-saving process. Thank you to Representative Goodman, Senator Dingre, and retired Judge Ann Levinson for their tireless work on this major accomplishment. And implementation matters. We are starting to see our impact on suicide by firearm. Nationwide, during the pandemic, firearm suicide increased by 1%. But in Washington state, firearm suicide decreased by 4%. That means that more than 24 fewer people lost their lives to firearm suicide in Washington in 1 year. That is to be celebrated. Over the past 2 years, we have also deepened and expanded our commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and access in all aspects of our work. I'm proud to continue the work to prioritize DEIA internally and proud of how our approach to policymaking has evolved to prioritize evidence-based solutions to gun violence that do not further harm Black and Brown communities. The last 2 years have also brought reminder after reminder that gun violence and white supremacy are linked. These last 2 years have also empowered our opponents. They are more energized and organized than they have been in years. Emboldened by extreme gun lobby and reckless elected officials, and a dangerous rise in armed protest and vigilante activity. Our opposition is relentless in their attempts to undo our progress. Already, a referendum has been filed attempting to overturn high-capacity magazines, a common sense policy that we all know that Washingtonians want. And it won't stop there. We're also expecting a legal challenge. And almost 4 years after passage of Edition 1639, we are still defending the law against baseless gun lobby lawsuits. And while we're confident the right action has been taken to save lives, the makeup of the federal courts has made the prospect of legal challenges a real problem. This summer, the Supreme Court will rule on the first major Second Amendment case in more than a decade. And that has the potential to have huge impacts on local gun laws. All of these challenges come, as you've heard at the start of our program, as gun violence rates continue to soar here at home and across the country. We often resort to numbers to illustrate the magnitude of the crisis, but we all know that statistics fail to capture its true toll. Behind each number is a person and a story. Royal Lee was unintentionally shot and killed by her father in their Federal Way apartment. She was only 8 years old. Tiffany, a mother of 3, was shot and killed by her estranged husband in the parking lot of a Clark County school. Justin was shot and killed at a Fred Meyer in Richland while working as an Instacart shopper. Each of them was killed by a gun in our state this year. In Washington, more than 800 people die every year by guns. 3/4 of those deaths are suicide, 20% are homicide, many domestic violence related, and 3% are officer involved. That is not inevitable. We absolutely do not have to accept this as part of our life. Together, we have accomplished more than we thought possible, and we cannot afford to let up now. I hope today's program inspires you to renew the commitment we all share to taking action to build a safer future, as individuals, as a community, as the Alliance. Thank you.
Can we just give another round of applause for Renee for all of her incredible leadership, her stalwart advocacy. We appreciate you so much, Renee. Thank you so much for your comments and for your leadership. I am especially excited to introduce our next guest, an Everett native and a graduate of Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's The Residency program. She has featured at Mopop Sound Off and KEXP's Refill virtual fundraiser. She's got a brand new song that she's sharing with us today about sustaining hope despite all that lies ahead. Please make some noise for Claudine Magbag.
Tables they'll turn with prices go empty every first tables they'll turn with prices go empty
Amazing, no? Thank you so much, Claudine, for sharing your talent. It's so amazing to listen to live music again, is it not? We've heard about the toll that gun violence has taken on our communities over the last 2 years. Cities have been on the front line of this crisis, bearing the brunt of the violence and advancing innovative strategies to address it. On the campaign trail, Mayor Harrell committed to treating gun violence like the public health emergency that it is, establishing the city's first cabinet member dedicated to gun violence prevention. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Bruce Harrell to the stage.
Okay, pretty excited here. You're talking about leading with faith and equity, faith-based communication. That's love talk to me right there. Thank you. To quote the immortal words of Winston Churchill, this speech might be a little long. I'm going to try to keep it short, but didn't have time to prepare a short speech. Issue's too important. I want to recognize just very quickly, I saw a few folks here that I'd like to recognize. And I have to first say that thank you for having me here, and thank you for doing this work, this really important work. I mean, quite frankly, it's very few things more important than this. But when I saw the state legislative body here, I'd never seen that before. I mean, I lobbied them, I talked to them on the phone, but all jumbled together like that. That was quite a sight to see. And an inspirational sight. I want to recognize Chief Adrian Diaz here. King County Sheriff Patty Cole Tyndall here. Now, I saw the state legislative leaders. They should be proud. You know, we could take not quite a victory lap, but a few steps toward the lap. But I know there's some city leaders here. I saw Councilmember Dan Strauss here. I saw you, and I don't know who else, a former Councilmember Jan Drago here. I don't know who else I missed from the city. Are there any other city electeds here? I see, oh, there you go, Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda, Councilmember Lisa Herbold. Well, you guys splitting tables here. You can't sit together because the quorum rules, right? So, you know, this work we're doing, I'm going to say allies since we're part of the Alliance family. This work we're doing, we're not fighting against guns, right? We're fighting for safety. We're fighting for a great city, a great county, and a great country. It's important to acknowledge as we get into solutions quite frankly, what the problem is. When you look at how our culture in America is so closely intertwined with this problem we're having and the hatred and the anger that we see. A lot of times when you're running for office, many electeds or potential electeds are asked the question, well, draw from your personal experience, you know, and I remember saying, you know, put some skin in the game, and what's your experience on gun violence? And quite honestly, I shy away from that question. I shy away from it because even this morning, a father that lost his son to some gun violence, he was a great kid. I mean, no criminal history, just doing great, outstanding work. Little League Baseball stars, father coached him. I mean, just an all-American kid, just a great kid, just breaking up a fight in Pioneer Square and was killed. I just chatted with him this morning. The stories that I have where I've held someone's hand as they are trying to recover from a gunshot, I don't brag about those things because I don't find strength from it. I just go to a real dark place. And many of you can go to a very dark place when you think about the experiences that you've all had as to why you're here. And so I say we're not fighting against guns, we're fighting because we love people around us, people who may not even look like you, may not talk like you, may not even draw from the same faith that you draw faith from. But that's why you're here. The Bill of Rights, the English Bill of Rights in 1689 allowed Protestant citizens of England to, quote, have arms for their defense suitable to their conditions and as allowed by law. And this restricted, of course, the ability of the English crown to have a standing army or to interfere with Protestants' right to bear arms. Of course, that became the foundation for our Bill of Rights, created in 1789, ratified in 1791. We all know one's right to bear arms and how it has created the culture we live in today. During that time, in 1875, you should know that only 17% of the constitutions included a right to bear arms, and since the early 20th century, the proportion has been less than 9%. Our country, well, I'll ask you this question. The forefathers, and they were men, the forefathers of this country, did they imagine the society we live in 2022? What is safe in our country? What area is safe? A church? That should be safe. You know what happened in Emmanuel AME? 9 people killed. 6 weeks after that tragic event, Dylan Roof lamented in a jailhouse journal that he could no longer go to movies or eat good food because of what he had done, but he still felt the massacre was, quote, worth it, unquote, because of what he perceived as the wrongs perpetuated by the black community. Here's a quote from Dylan. I would like to make it crystal clear I do not regret what I did. I am not sorry. I have not shed a tear for the innocent people I killed. This young man was 22 years old. That's the country we're living in. So what is safe? Schools? The United States has the highest number of school shootings. In 2022 alone, there have been over 22 school shootings. There have been 114 school shootings since 2018. Movie theaters? You know theirs aren't safe. 2012, Aurora, Colorado, 12 dead, 70 wounded. 2015, Lafayette, Louisiana, 2 people killed, 9 injured. Hell, in 2021, in Bellevue, Factory Mall outside an AMCA theater, a person was killed. Hospitals? 2018, a mass shooting at Mercy Hospital at Medical Center in Chicago. In broad afternoon at 3 o'clock, 4 people killed. There's been 17 fatal hospital shootings since 2002. You've heard about the statistics of where gun violence is going. So what we must do, first of all, is recognize, as much as, I'm a local patriot. I love this country and I love this city. And like Martin Luther King said, there can be no great disappointment where there's no great love. So you don't want to hear about my personal stories about gun violence. I think I can match the credibility with anyone in this room. I don't draw strength from it. What I draw strength from is right now we're doing something about it. We're going to open up our checkbooks. Number one, we're going to give money, but we're going to look at each other's eyes and say, we are allies in this fight together. The work under the leadership of the Alliance for Gun Responsibility they're well within their rights to take a victory lap. The legislatures are well within your rights to take victory laps, but that's not what we do in this work, because we know we have so much more to do. So what we're going to do in the Harrell administration, first of all, I needed to find a leader to help me lead this work who I could look in their eyes and say, can we do this together? That would be a woman who lost both her son and her brother to gun violence. That would be Davita Briscoe, and I'd like Davita to stand up. Thank you, Davita. And as I look into the community-based organizations here, that will be a critical strategy we must do. We have young men and women walking around with untreated trauma. When you grow up and you don't feel safe and you've seen pain and you've seen anger, you may not have the impulse control that we would like to see. I used to coach kids down in Rainier Playfield, coach them for years and years. And I could sort of tell those kids that had impulse control issues. And I spent an inordinate amount of time talking to some of these, particularly these are young men. And the lives that some of them had to lead were astonishing. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to move into solutions. The first thing is I look for a superintendent of parks. And the reason why I'm doing such a stringent search is, right now these kids, a lot of them are walking around with a with $1,000, right? Now, when I walked around, these things weren't even invented. They were probably in someone's, you guys are laughing. And many of you are my age, so don't start laughing. You know, kids are dying over these things, right? So the first thing we want to do is I look at my park systems, look at my assets. I got over 400 parks, 485 buildings. I have 8 swimming pools. I have moored facilities. I have golf facilities. How would I turn all this into safe centers, empowerment centers, coaches, mentors, teachers? How do I change the conversation about our assets? And they're not just for recreation, but they are safety centers where these young men and women, as they struggle with who they are and what they want to be, how can they find this power? You talk about using the faith-based community. I'm all in. You talk about using mentors and teachers. You know, I will guarantee you right now, if I asked you right now how many of you would take one person under your wing 2 days a week, 2 hours a day, 4 hours a week, and mentor this young person. You don't know what the struggle is right now. They're 12, they're 13, they're in high school. They can't even get FaceTime with the counselor. If I asked you to spend some time at one of my community centers, and we have, how many do we have, council members? 28, 32? So, say it again. 35? Who said that? Oh, thank you, Councilmember Strauss. 35? If I asked you to spend some time in one of our 35 community centers, thank you, Dan, you would do it. I know your hands would go up. That's the One Seattle approach we're going to do. All hands on deck. We are an alliance for gun responsibility. At the root of what we do is to keep all communities safe. We don't care what your racial demographic is. We don't care what religion you have. We don't care how you live your lifestyle. We don't care about that. We want you to be safe. We're going to tap into all of these resources. So we're going to create safety centers. I have to tell you, legislators, RCW 9.41.290, that is your law that allows you to do what you do and prohibits us from doing what we can do in city governments. Many states have allowed some flexibility there. So working with the Alliance, I am strategizing with you to see what we can do. Now, when President Biden was here last week, first of all, that was pretty cool, right? That was pretty cool. So when I had gone to D.C. in November of last year, and I met with the Secretary of Housing, Marcia Fudge, Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh, Vice President Harris, and President Biden, and Secretary of Transportation Buttigieg. You know, you guys elected a cheerleader, Seattle. Oh, man, I'm in rare form. I talk about it, Seattle, and like they've ever heard before, because I love this. This city's been incredibly generous to me. And I will say to them that the answers in this country, dealing with gun violence, dealing with safety, dealing with environmental sustainability, dealing with race and social justice, are here in Seattle. Now, why do I say that? I say that because we have our soft underbelly of racism here. Oh, I know it quite well. But here we have a pretty compassionate, pretty liberal place. And you know, we're resource rich. We're going to raise, hey, Renee, we're going to raise some money this afternoon. You know that, right? We've already claimed that, right? Were there envelopes on the table or something? What's the? We are generous people here. We are generous. Look at me, a person that's biracial. Seattle Public Schools here. What are the odds of this kid getting elected to be the mayor of Seattle? It's hardly, there's none of me looking out there in this audience, very few. I'm a minority within minorities. But you know what? This city advanced 2 people of color out of 15 people to the primary in Seattle amongst 15 people. When asked, this city will look beyond race or look at race and say, we will do the right thing. That's Seattle. That's why the answers are here in this country. Great industry, high-tech, biotech, maritime, manufacturing, aerospace, university system, everything except the damn NBA team. And we're working on it. The answers are here in Seattle. At high school, and the superintendent of high schools, Dr. Brent Jones, is one of my best friends. The data you all are, Nick, the data-based approach is where the action is. So we want to know what kids in middle schools and high schools could be predisposed to this, what I call this impulse control issue, a new kind of partnership. Can we set up a system by which we know the folks that might have a propensity toward gun violence? I mean, you hear the same things after the kids like Dylan Roof commit atrocious acts. Well, they were a loner, they didn't have any friends, they were depressed, and you hear the same kinds of things. There has to be predictors and analytics and data to help us reach out to these folks before the act occurs. So under our leadership, going back to 9.41290, and yes, I got the damn statute memorized, that we're hoping that we can find a way possibly to get some form of relief from that. So when Biden was here, we drove in the motorcade, and yeah, I got a chance driving a motorcade. I'm pretty proud of that. But we went through Auburn, and you see all the Trump signs everywhere. Yeah, all the Trump signs everywhere. And people know I like to fish in my spare time. I drive all around the state, and I go to Republic, Washington once in a while, and see all the Trump signs everywhere. And it just occurred to me, it's just an epiphany, that I said, you know what? The kinds of home runs, everything's a baseball analogy these days, the Mariners are so hot. The kind of home runs in gun policy, with all these different cities and all these different legislators out there, and we had the A-team up here, but those folks that weren't on the stage, that wouldn't even show up this kind of events, and they know what I'm talking about. They have colleagues that would not be caught dead on a stage like this, right, supporting reasonable gun responsibility issues, that it might be a little slow moving when I'm saying what we still have in our state. What do we need? One more mass killing? What in the heck do we need for this country to realize, embedded in this country of violence, is the need for, I think, a little more local control. I'm sorry, I just have to say that. That the gun policies in Ording, Washington, is anyone from Ording, Washington here? I don't want to pick on Ording. Let's go Republic. The gun policies in Republic, Washington, what they want might be a little different than we want here in Seattle, the epicenter of this state, the highest economic driver in this state. They might be a little different. So that's why I get sort of stuck on the 9.41290, and that's the kind of policy work we'll want to do. I'll close by saying this, that the Alliance for Gun Responsibility, quite candidly, it is the go-to organization for this work. The work you did on ghost guns, on background checks, on high-capacity magazines, we could take a victory lap. We really could. This is phenomenal work. It takes leadership, it takes a commitment, it takes a complete understanding of the complexity of the issue, and it takes time. So I will commit to you that I want, with your leadership, Davida, and my administration and the great people of Seattle, I will fight as hard as I can for a safe Seattle. And our gun policy is going to be critical, absolutely critical to our collective success. So in closing, the legislators, you guys stepped up so big, and I know you took some hits for it too, right? No good deed goes unpunished. We understand that. I'll take the hits too. Community-based organizations, we will invest in you. We believe in you. Faith leaders, we believe in you. We need your work. Philanthropic deep pockets, we believe in you too. That was right. Because quite frankly, we're only on this earth for a short period of time. They say you got 4 quarters, right? 4 quarters of life, 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 60 to 80, 40 to 60, 60 to 4 quarters. Well, then every 5-year period after is an overtime. So you get a couple overtimes too if you live right. But that's what it's all about, is making sure we can be the voice of reason in this country. Let's do this together. I'm honored to be your mayor. Thank you very much, Alliance for Gun Responsibility. Thank you very much.
When it comes to gun violence, the Alliance is an advocacy powerhouse. We save lives, that's what we're doing. That's what the Alliance does. Every law that is passed, every initiative that they work on, that is saving a life. That is one extra life that gets to live in our community.
It's hard to overstate how important the Alliance has been in helping the legislature to evolve. If it weren't for the Alliance and the organizations working alongside the Alliance, there's very little chance that we would be making the progress that we are in the legislature.
We may have all these legislative wins, but now comes the time to implement. And until then, lives are being lost, and right now, gun violence is at an all-time high. It's extremely frustrating knowing that states like ours, we're having to do all the work because this work isn't being done at a federal level.
I think it's important for our organization to work with other organizations and to bridge that gap because gun violence intersects with so many other issues. It's really a multi-dimensional crisis. I think engaging with communities to build that sense of collective care and collective action is something that we can do to really strengthen the gun violence prevention movement.
The community organizations that we partner with are vital to drive the policy that we're trying to pass. They're the people that are in the communities, they're on the grounds, and without them we wouldn't be able to do the work that we're doing.
Community Passageways is an organization that serves the Black indigenous community, the people that are at the bottom of the totem pole and have been marginalized, underserved, and disenfranchised for hundreds of years.
RISE focuses on mothers and children that have been impacted by gun violence. We do that through a holistic approach that intersects with public health. So we focus on mental health supports, workforce development, a host of different workshops that helps the mother to process her grief.
The reason why we do the work we do is because we wanted to give the system an option. So nobody is a throwaway person. Nobody is just somebody that you just lock the door, throw away the key, and then they'll get better by being locked up. It doesn't work. Mass incarceration does not work.
It's the organization's responsibility to really focus on those that are left behind. Black people are being disproportionately impacted. We make up 50% of the fatalities of the homicide victims. So we see the data, but I feel the data. The data shows individuals as numbers. They're more than numbers. They're families, they're providers, they're husbands, they're wives. They're connected to others. And so when one is murdered, we're all hurting, we're all suffering.
When we're testifying in Olympia, we often see the gun lobby and the NRA kind of rallying communities of color and trying to convince them that more guns equals more safety, acting like they care about BIPOC communities when they really don't.
When you look at the Asian American community, when we got hit with COVID, the extreme increase of violence in that community that we saw, the first thing people thought about was, let me get a gun to protect myself.
Well, I think it's important that, at the Alliance, we continue to make that push to bridge the gap. We're really working on connecting with Black communities so that they can be involved in what goes on behind the scenes here at the Alliance.
For an organization like RISE, I think it's absolutely beautiful to be in partnership with the Alliance. I feel honored for them to have designed a Black chapter where our voices are centered, where we are at the table, we can move policy in a different direction.
So there is a critical case when it comes to common sense gun reform that's currently before the United States Supreme Court. We all know the makeup of this court, the very conservative bent of this court. The fact that they even took this case for the first time in years, it's of deep concern potentially for folks who support common sense gun reform. While the NRA's strategy of litigating all these important laws and trying to challenge them in court has not been successful so far, frankly, what they've been successful with is draining resources of organizations like the Alliance.
There is no signs that gun violence will be decreasing. We need resources for not just the Alliance to do their piece, but for our community-based organizations that are at a ground level to do our work too.
There's so many different organizations, so many people who have dedicated years and years and years, and it's the Alliance that acts as an umbrella and allows all these organizations and individuals to come together and all fight for the same cause.
I just appreciate the Alliance for what they do. I appreciate who they are. They have put themselves in a position where they're a powerhouse out there in Olympia. They can make change.
We have worked so hard to get to where we are, and we have to keep this momentum going. This year, 2022, is an extremely important year to make sure that we don't lose any of the progress that we've made.
We need everybody who cares about these issues to step up, to write to their local elected official, to support the Alliance.
We need support. We need to be poured into. If you give folks an opportunity to heal, they will.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jay Ward. Thank you so much for being here. I'm here today because this issue, gun violence prevention, is deeply personal to me. My siblings and I grew up with a very close bond. We were best friends. My younger brother, Adam, had a larger-than-life personality. He was a natural entertainer, and when he entered a room, his boisterous presence could completely transform the mood. His positive energy was infectious. Never without a smile, often laughing, he seemed immune to the frustrations of life. My sister Sarah and I, we admired his genuine kindness and ability to befriend anyone who crossed his path. He was our little brother, but we looked up to him. He was passionate about sports and would often mute the TV and deliver commentary more dynamic and more entertaining than the best broadcasters. This interest led him to pursue a degree in journalism at Virginia Tech and then a position as a photojournalist at a local TV station in our hometown of Roanoke, Virginia. On August 26, 2015, Adam was murdered while filming a live morning report alongside anchor Allison Parker. He was killed with one shot to the back of the head. That morning, as I left an early class, I was told to call my family immediately. My heart sank. I grabbed my phone and saw a message from an old friend. It said, "Please don't tell me this is your brother, Adam Ward." I felt life crashing around me. I stepped into the office and I called my mom and dad. They were sobbing. I could hardly understand a word they said except, he's gone, please come home." The next hours and days are largely a blur, but I'll never forget walking through the airport later that morning. Everywhere I looked, I saw Adam and Allison on TV screens. Some people stopped, they watched, and were clearly horrified by the news. Others kept moving about their day, getting coffee, laughing. I couldn't understand it. How could my world be falling apart and these people didn't even notice? How could life keep moving forward when everything I'd known had changed? Since that August morning 7 years ago, our country has experienced over 2,900 mass shootings, some of which have captured the thoughts and prayers of our nation as these tragedies briefly hold space in our inundated news cycle. However, what we don't see in the headlines is the more than 100 people who are killed every day through domestic violence, suicide, and homicides, and that people of color are dramatically disproportionately affected. And what we don't hear about are the thousands of brothers, sisters, moms, and dads, and families whose lives are forever changed. When our family met with the Alumni Association at Virginia Tech to establish a scholarship in memory of Adam, all I could think about were the families of the massacre on that campus who had sat in that same room and had that same awful conversation. I remember watching my father pull photos of Adam from his wallet and pass them around the table, and I imagined how many parents had done the exact same. It seemed all too tragically routine. But these tragedies should not be routine. This crisis does not have to be our reality. We can change it, and the work of the Alliance is changing it, but we cannot afford to slow down. This last week, I was on a road trip, and we were listening to a playlist full of classic Disney hits. And I remembered Adam performing these elaborate interpretive song and dances to Colors of the Wind and Circle of Life. But my joy in remembering those moments quickly faded to sadness and anger. I'll never get a chance to relive those moments with him. He was stolen from us, and the opportunity to grow old with my little brother was stolen from me. And I know the survivors in the room today identify with that feeling. You are here today because you know how important this fight is. It's easy to feel helpless in the face of gun violence, but we collectively have the power to demand change to keep our communities safe. I'm asking you to make a gift to fund the Alliance's life-saving work, because that's exactly what it is. It's life-saving. The Alliance has an ambitious goal of raising $1 million today, and in a moment, Fred is going to help us get there. I hope that you think of Adam and Allison and the tens of thousands of gun violence victims whose names we do not know. To end this uniquely American epidemic, it will require all of us, gun violence survivors and non-survivors alike, standing up for our loved ones and demanding a safer tomorrow. Thank you for joining the Alliance's luncheon today, and thank you for your commitment to a safer tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Friends, my name is Fred Northup Jr. I'm honored to be back with you. We've seen today how urgent gun violence prevention is. As Jay said, it's going to take all of us to join together right now. So we hope that you will dig deep and join us at a level that is meaningful to you. For those of us who are joining us virtually, of course, you've got a link in the chat where you can make your donation. But for those of us here, you're going to raise your paddle again at a gift that is meaningful to you. Some of you, many of you have already checked a box on that bid card. If you're inspired to cross that out and jump up a level, we hope that you'll dig deep right now. And so here we go. Our first giving level is $100,000. If you can join us at $100,000, please raise your paddle proudly. And here we go. Number 391 starts us off at $100,000. Thank you for joining us to prevent gun violence.
Thank you, Lenora Hanauer. Thank you, Sarah and Rich Barton.
Anyone else want to join our lead donors at $100,000? How about another round of applause for our lead donors at $100,000? Thank you. We're confident there's a level that works for everyone here. Our next level is $50,000. Who can raise your paddle now at $50,000 and join us if you're able? And here we go, number 387, starting us off at $50,000.
Thank you, Sarah and Rich Barton.
Anyone else want to join us at $50,000? How about another round of applause for the Barton family? Thank you for your generosity and your leadership here with us today. $25,000 is our next level. Who can join us to prevent gun violence? We have a longtime supporter, by the way, starting us off at $25,000. Thank you. Who can join them? And here we go, number 39, number 39 joins us at $25,000.
Thank you, Mary Ann Tagney.
Also, number 397 joining us at $25,000. Thank you. Again, that's number 397. Thank you for your generosity. Anyone else want to raise your paddle proudly at this level? How about a big round of applause for our $25,000 supporters? Thank you. All right, I know we're going to see some $10,000 donations, so that is our next level. Remember, when you donate, you are moving us towards a community that is safe from the devastating consequences of gun violence. And a reminder for those of you tuning in, you can click that giving link in the chat. We're so grateful. I know we've got people backstage watching your gifts coming in live. Thank you. So starting us off at $10,000, thank you to Bill and Paula Clapp. Thank you. Who can join them now at $10,000? And look at all these cards going up. My goodness. Here we go. Starting up front, number 25, starting us off at $10,000. Thank you. Number 25.
Thank you, Linda Mervold.
Number 37 also joining us at $10,000.
Thank you, Matt Ballou.
Number 38 joining us at $10,000 as well.
Thank you, Eric Dillon.
Number 382 also joining us now at $10,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex Algard.
Number 380 also at $10,000.
Thank you, Jill and Raj Singh.
Number 386 at $10,000. Thank you. 386. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete Higgins.
Number 385 also joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lloyd Frank.
And number 381 joining us. Thank you so much. Looking to the bank.
Thank you, Linda Mervold.
The mystery voice. Anyone else at $10,000? How about a big round of applause for our $10,000 supporters? Thank you. All right, let's keep going. Of course, this is the Alliance biggest fundraiser of the year, so let's keep going, digging deep. Starting us off at $5,000, we want to say thank you to David Zapolsky. Thank you, Christopher Roberts. Thank you, Patrick Kennedy. Thank you, Chris Stoley. And also, of course, thank you to our sponsor, Pacifica Law Group. Who can join them now at $5,000? And here go the cards up quickly. Number 384, thank you, at $5,000. Number 379, also at 5,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle Rosen.
Number 388, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ellen Ferguson.
Number 389, also at 5,000.
Thank you, Kate Levin.
Number 33, thank you so much.
Thank you, Keith Kushner.
Number 125, thank you.
Thank you, Adam Raj.
Number 390 from the back, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate Botello.
Number 265, also joining us at 5,000, thank you.
Thank you, Ken and Sandy Glass.
Anyone else at $5,000? Amazing, all those cards. How about a big round of applause for everyone joining us at 5,000? All right. Let's keep it going at $2,500. We don't need to thank any more from the back because there are going to be so many at this level. Watch this. I've got a special announcement. A generous donor has agreed to match every donation at this level. Every donation. Your $2,500 becomes $5,000 right now with their match. So let's give our supporter a big round of applause. Let's fund evidence-based solutions right now together. Who can join us at $2,500 knowing you are being matched dollar for dollar? And here we go. Number 182, thank you. Number 211. Number 40, thank you. Number 41, thank you. Number 206, great area code, thank you. Number 211. Number 256. I'm struggling with the homemade bid card. Number 250, thank you. Thank you for the hand signals. Number 67, thank you so much. Number 342, thank you. All of these $2,500 gifts are being matched dollar for dollar. Anyone else want to join us at $2,500? I know we have, again, a lot of gifts coming in online as well. Thank you. Big round of applause for our $2,500 supporters. Let's continue this life-saving work. We have great news. Our donor is also matching the $1,000 level, but that's it. This is your last opportunity to be matched. So your $1,000 becomes $2,000 right now. How many cards can we get up at $1,000? Again, you're being matched dollar for dollar. Your $1,000 becomes $2,000. Number 31, thank you. Number 3, thank you. Number 4, thank you. Number 2, thank you so much. Number 144, thank you. Number 31, thank you so much. Number 121, number 122, number 118, number 193. All of these are $1,000 donors who are being matched. Number 296, thank you for your generosity. Number 405, number 281, number 271. Can you believe we're still going? Number 362, number 37, number 49. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Anyone else? Yes, number 178. Thank you. Who else would like to join us? Number 240 says, I'll give $1,000 knowing I'm matched. Anyone else want to join us at $1,000? What an incredible, generous room. How about a big round of applause for our $1,000 supporters? Thank you. Our paddle raise is drawing to a close, of course. By the way, if you would like to pay by check, there are 2 ways to do that. You can leave a check in the manila envelope on your table, or you can hand a check to checkout on your way out. Either way will work great. So $500, you are going to help advocate for changes in laws. You're going to help promote community education to reduce gun violence. Who can join us now at $500? And look at all these cards. My goodness, here we go. Number 150, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for starting us off. Number 147, number 161, number 179, thank you. Number 128, number 186. Now, after you raise your paddle, please make sure you check that box on the back of your card too. You can leave that. That's just one way to double check our work. So you can check the box on the back of your card after you raise your paddle. Number 300, number 337, number 291, number 189, thank you. Number 190, number 295, number 123, thank you. Number 119, Number 283, number 111, thank you. Number 394, number 215, number 101, thank you. Number 45, thank you so much. Number 94, number 229, number 252, number 248, number 247, number 245, number 67, number 358, number 268, number 269, number 276, and number 218. Anyone else here? Incredible. How about a round of applause for our $500 supporters? You're amazing. We'll keep going at $250. $250 is our next level, and then we're going to bring up our friend Zach to close down our program for just a few minutes. But at $250, let's see how many cards we can get up. We've got gifts coming in of $250, of $25,000, of $2,500. Wherever you're giving, it is about a community coming together. And so here we go. Number 34, thank you for starting us off. Number 32, number 153, number 7, thank you. Number 11, number 9, number 158, number 162, number 320, number 318, thank you. Number 306, number 322, number 185, number 214, thank you. Number 126, number 287, number 44, number 50, thank you. Number 42, thank you so much. Number 210, number 208, number 209, number 262, number 259, number 373, number 230, number 244, number 77, number 72. Anyone else at $250? How about a big round of applause for our $250 supporters? Our last level, and again, reminder to just check the box on the back of your card too. You can leave your card at your table. Our last level is $100. How many cards can we get up at $100? Our final level, and here we go. Number 317, thank you. Number 314, number 163, number 177, number 188. Number 290, all of these generous supporters at $100. Number 103, number 221, number 217, number 43, thank you. Number 356, number 222, number 253, number 236, number 237, number 235, number 81, and I got you right there already, thank you. Number 78, number 243, number 239, number 242, number 79, number 80, number 82. Anyone else at $100? Number 355, thank you so much. And number 364, thank you. How about a big round of applause for everyone who raised their card here? Thank you so much. We are so grateful. And I'm being handed, we had all sorts of donations coming in online. I want to say thank you, Susan Eggers, who joined us at $5,000. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you to everyone joining us. Please, as a reminder, share the link, this YouTube program. It's going to be archived right there on YouTube, so you can share that link with your friends and family. Again, if you'd like to pay by check, you can leave a check in the manila envelope, or you can stop by checkout on your way out. And of course, a reminder that if you work for a company that will match your generosity, please make sure that they do that so that you can, again, double your impact. All right, friends, my name is Fred Northup Jr. Again, it's been my honor. I'm going to bring up someone who I've known and admired for many, many years. To end our program, please welcome Alliance board member and co-founder, Zach Silk, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Can we get a big round of applause for Fred, please? For those of you who don't know, Fred was there from the very beginning. We had this idea about 10 years ago that we were going to fill a ballroom. We were going to ask everybody not to give money to enter the room. You were going to give in money because you were inspired to give. Most people thought we were crazy, but lo and behold, what happened then is what happened just now, which is everybody found deep in their hearts a place where they wanted to give to this movement, and it's very special. And we really appreciate Fred's work on this. And I want to give everybody here, will you please give yourselves a round of applause for your participation? We're going to close this very quickly. I also, you don't pull these kinds of things off without an incredible staff. Renee, incredible, great work by Renee. Let's give her a round of applause. But more importantly, let's give a round of applause to Maureen and all the staff. There are just a couple quick remarks I wanted to make. The first is we have come a very, very long way. When we first began this work, it was not clear what we were going to be able to accomplish. It actually was much darker days. We could not pass a bill out of a democratically controlled House. We had trouble mustering majorities in either chamber. We were unable to pass legislation. And most importantly, we faced a ferocious opposition, just an extraordinary opponent. As Nick pointed out, there really was an element to this where we just needed to stand up and keep fighting and keep working. And the most important thing about this organization and this movement is we did not despair. We've had a lot of setbacks. There's been many tragedies. We heard some of them today, but we kept going. We found ourselves in faith, and we found ourselves in hope. And we found ourselves in community as we find ourselves here today. So just lean into that. The forces of darkness want you to give up. They want you to despair. That's how they win. We're not going to let that happen. And when your contributions, both of your time, and of course your money, but most importantly, your faith in this institution are what keep us going and how we're going to continue to win. And I promise you, we are going to continue to win. All right. And with that, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for everything you've done, and we will see you next year here.
This concludes the Alliance for Gun Responsibility's 10th annual luncheon. Thank you for coming and have a wonderful week.